Welcome back to Health Check. I'm Heidi Godman. If you're just joining us, we are talking today about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We are going to be talking about the health benefits of this form of martial arts. A lot of different types of martial arts that you hear about. You might hear about Kung Fu or Karate or Tai Chi. What is the difference between all of these things? Sometimes they're very, very slight differences. Sometimes it's the movements. Sometimes it's the philosophy. I have noticed for the last, I'd say about 20 years here on the Sun Coast, a growing popularity of something called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, there's also Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, but this is different. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So when I worked at the TV station, I know that the sports guys did some stories on that. And then I had friends who had their kids in Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they'd do summer camp or they'd just do it throughout the year. When my oldest son was young, he was in karate, to learn a little self-defense, but mostly, because it was fun and he was little and he was just trying on all the different sports to see what he liked. He didn't do it too long. I took Kung Fu and karate in college, just because you can, and that was pretty fun. Interesting self-defense moves that I learned, and I really enjoyed that. But this is different. So everywhere you look now, it seems like there is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu storefront. So someone is offering Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here on this corner or in that shopping center or at the mall. In fact, some very good friends of ours, Nick and Nicole, have a son, Dimitri, and he has been taking Jiu-Jitsu for a couple of years now. We've even dropped him off at practice sometimes. And so Nicole recently joined Dimitri and started taking Jiu-Jitsu classes alongside him and just has been loving it. And so I've really been hearing quite a bit about it in the last few months when she has started. She is a very passionate person to begin with. Now she's just over the moon about this, and she really, really feels so strongly about it. And we were talking about it the other day, and she said, this would be a great program. We should do a program. And I said, that's great. And she said, and I even have a friend that I would love to bring with me. And I said, that would be great too. So the friend's name is Aurelia Weber. And Aurelia just happens to be a certified Amazon project trainer, which is a free self-defense workshop. So we're going to be finding out all about this free self-defense workshop. What is the Amazon project? We're going to find out why Nicole loves jiu-jitsu. We're going to find out why Aurelia loves jiu-jitsu. And we're going to find out why you might like it too. So I want to introduce my first guest, Aurelia Weber. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Heidi. Thank you so much for having us on here today.
Yeah, glad to do it. I'm very excited about it. How did you get into jiu-jitsu?
Well, we have two children, and when our daughter Elise was 6 years old, my husband and I, we were really interested in getting her involved in some sort of sport.
I think that's the typical thing, and then they go through the whole list, soccer and baseball and basketball. You try all these different things.
Absolutely. So, besides the physical benefits that we wanted for her and the team building benefits, for my husband, it was really important that she be able to defend herself. So he'd already done his research, and he knew that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was considered the best martial art for self-defense. Police officers take training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It is the basic form of martial art that is used in the Marine Corps as part of the foundation of their program, basically. So he asked around. He had a friend whose two children were training at Vieira Academy. Mm-hmm. So we brought Elise there.
And that was 2 years ago?
That was 2 years ago. Actually, she started the summer before. She started in the summer of 2014, I want to say.
Okay, so almost 3 years.
3 years ago.
Okay,
yeah.
So now you are taking her to the classes on a regular basis. How long was it before you wanted to give it a try?
After that first experience that Elise had in the BJJ that summer, we took a break, which I now regret, but we did take that break, and then we came back the following summer. And so she had been training about a month and a half, and my husband noticed that our professor had posted a sign about having a women's self-defense class on Fridays. And he really encouraged me to do it. And by encourage me, I mean he literally shoved me out the door. He pushed me out the door and locked it behind me.
Now, I want to tell everybody, Aurelia, you're a small person, and I'm a small person too. I'm 5'2".
Mm-hmm. I'm 4'10".
And yes, you are smaller than I am, and so, but we're a little bit mighty. Right, but your husband, was he worried about your protection, about your ability to protect yourself, walk into the car in a public parking lot or something like that? What was it?
That might have played into it. I think he just wanted me to have some sort of an outlet, something to do, and
give it a try.
I'd give it a try.
All right,
this was just something that was available, and he encouraged me to do it.
And so that was 2 years ago. Your first class, there you are, and you'd seen your daughter do some of these moves. Now here you are doing the moves, and you thought, what?
I was immediately hooked.
Why is everybody who does it just
know.
It's like yoga. Everybody who does yoga loves yoga. Everybody who does jiu-jitsu loves jiu-jitsu. So what is it?
There's just something about the physicality of it. You are really you're working with your partner, and it's very close contact. I mean, you are basically right on top of each other, and it's very physical. It's very social. It's a very encouraging atmosphere, and I think in all of those ways, it just fills so many human needs for us. It's fun.
Okay, all right. So tell everybody what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. How is it different than going in and, hi-ya, doing some kicks or chops or whatever? How is this actually different?
Well, okay, I can only speak about Jiu-Jitsu and what I've heard of other martial arts. Like karate it seems very static to me. And when I watch people doing karate, it looks almost choreographed. Mm-hmm. I do this move and I'm in this position, and then you follow up with that move because we're in this other position. And the contact, as you said, is very like hi-ya. It's a striking kind of a contact.
Right. You learn how to use your whole body and the force of your entire body to do an arm movement or a leg movement. And kicks are very important in those kinds of things. Taekwondo also. As I understand it from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's a lot of ground fighting involved. Is that right?
It is almost entirely on the ground.
On the ground?
Yes. We do train takedowns. We do train self-defense with like the strikes and punches and kicks. But most of it is on the ground because the majority of any type of altercation, any fight, any self-defense situation that you're going to find yourself in, it will end up on the ground because it's a scramble. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of other martial arts fall short. Once you're on the ground, they don't know what to do. And that is basically our domain. This is where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu really takes off. Our Professor Tadio Vieira, he always says that the strength of BJJ is that it forces you to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it really is uncomfortable to have some other person on you and pushing on you or shoving you and getting on top of you. It's very uncomfortable. And BJJ forces you over time to become really comfortable because you've learned all these techniques. You've been in this situation so many times, like throughout every single class and sparring in class. You've just been in this situation and you know what to do. You don't feel scared. You're not nervous about somebody overpowering you because you know that you'll be able to do something about it.
All right. So a lot of difference between karate, taekwondo, kung fu, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And you're a certified Amazon Project trainer, which is offering a free self-defense workshop in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So what is that? What's the Amazon Project?
So the Amazon's Project is, as you said, they offer free workshops. And these free workshops happen all around the country, really. And I think in Canada, there have been workshops that have happened in Brazil. And the Amazon's Project basically has this passion to teach women how to defend themselves. And it's based on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. and any martial arts school across the country could become certified to
teach this.
have these workshops. Yes.
Okay. And so you're a trainer.
And so I'm a trainer because
how often do you have them?
Well, it varies, but roughly once a month.
Once a month. So anybody could come.
Anybody could come to these workshops, and anybody could come to these workshops as many times as they would like.
All right. So that's a great introduction to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and also a little self-defense. What are you really going to get out of it if you come to one workshop?
You're going to learn, well, you're going to learn a lot of things, really. But I think one of the biggest takeaways is that you really have to be conditioned. Your body has to be conditioned, and your mind has to be conditioned to be able to respond quickly in a self-defense situation. And it becomes obvious, even after one workshop, that yes, I might know this one move now, and I might feel slightly more confident to perform this move or have something in my mind to do if I get attacked. But as I said, I think the biggest takeaway is that most people realize I really do have to be conditioned. I really do have to do more than just this 1 2-hour workshop.
So it gets you thinking.
It really does.
All right. Okay.
It really does.
So it gets you thinking. And again, we were saying that you started doing this because your husband encouraged you and you wanted a way to defend yourself, and you wanted your daughter to be able to defend herself. How about now? Can you defend yourself? And how about your daughter?
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. All right. Well, I want to get the input of someone else. And I mentioned earlier in the program that my friend Nicole is the one who I was talking to about this, and she suggested we do a program. So I'd like to introduce you, everybody, to my really dear friend Nicole Pappas. And I want you to, Nicole, pull that microphone really close to you, and let's just talk about this. Hello.
Hi, Heidi. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, it's so exciting to have you here. We're very good friends, and also you are just the most passionate person, like Aurelia, about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But, your son, Dimitri, I was telling our audience that Dimitri has been doing Jiu-Jitsu for a little while now. He's won awards and things like that.
Yes.
And then you've been saying, I think I'll try, and I'm thinking, oh, yeah, maybe you will. And then the next thing I know, you're just so in love with Jiu-Jitsu.
I know. It sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Yes and no. But tell us when you started going to class with Dimitri and how it's going now.
Yeah, that's such a great setup for my experience, because Dimitri, my son, took to it right away.
Dimitri's 13.
Dimitri's 13. He just loved the whole philosophy and the feeling and the culture at this particular dojo that we go to. And I was a little more skeptical. I thought, oh gosh, I'm 5'2". I'm a little overweight. I don't want to be squished and be around these men. And I'm just not tough enough. I didn't think I was tough enough to do it. And I watched Dimitri slowly. And one day the professor was talking to the group. Because the thing I love about this particular dojo is that it's not just about let's be a tough guy, let's see who's the strongest. It's about mental self-control and respect and honor and all these other ethics. And I was listening in one day, and the professor said, what will you do if somebody breaks into your house one day? What will you do if someone starts to attack your mom? Are you going to run into the corner and say, oh, I'm afraid I don't know anything, and get into a little fetal position? Or are you going to stand up and use the moves that you know how to do very deliberately? We hope never to hurt anybody or injure anybody, but defend your mom. And right there, the boys started talking about it, and I started listening, and I thought, Nicole, what will you do if somebody breaks into the house? And I would go into a fetal position before I took jiu-jitsu. So I thought, okay, you know what? This is time. I'm going to do this so I feel more empowered and strong to defend myself. But then what I found, Heidi, is that by going, I actually got more and more personal confidence. Because they talk about in there how under stressful situations in life, somebody yells at you in the grocery line or cuts you off, right? In driving, you can let the id or, the amygdala fear response come up and get all intimidated, or you can be very centered, fully present in that frontal lobe and make a decision and weigh and assess your options. And I'm finding that by the stress of being put into that situation every week, but yet in a loving and supporting way, it's carrying over even into my work life. Mm-hmm. And the way I carry myself, I just feel so much more confident and deliberate and emotionally intelligent in other areas of my life, which blew my mind. That blew my mind. I'm like, how could jiu-jitsu teach me that, right?
Right.
And so it's so interesting. The professor always says, Nicole, don't compare yourself against Aurelia or anyone else. Compare yourself against you yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think of that, I'm in such a better tone, condition, confidence level from yesterday.
Now and we should say too that you recently lost a good deal of weight. And you look amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
But you feel better.
Oh, I feel so much better. And the thing I'm noticing is in the class. Now, I understand some dojos, and at first I thought, well, this place is in the mall. I don't know, like how high quality it's in the mall. Is it just a money-making place? And then Dimitri got involved, and I got involved, and I said, oh my gosh, no, this is the real deal. Like, Professor Thaddeus Vieira is from the Gracie family in Brazil, and so it's lock, stock, and barrel, the real deal. And so I thought, okay, this is something that is trustworthy. And then by going, I just realized that I lost my train of thought. I wanted to make a great point there, though. By going, what I realized was, yes, that at this particular dojo, even though it may not be the case everywhere else, you are welcome, whether you're 300 pounds overweight, you're tiny like me, and we have grandmothers in there.
We do.
And I'm telling you, a woman who's 68 really gave me a tough fight last week. And it built both of our confidence while we helped each other through it.
And I can't imagine you fighting. So I want to hear more about this. You fighting a grandma. So everybody stay with us. This is Health Check with Heidi Godman on WSRQ. More on the health benefits of jiu-jitsu in just a second.
The sun is out, the kids are playing. It's all fun and games until someone gets hurt or sick and needs urgent medical care. Sarasota Memorial's 6 urgent care centers are staffed with board-certified emergency and family medicine physicians, so you can count on the best care, fast. The right doctors right away at Sarasota Memorial Urgent Care Centers. Open daily 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. For locations, visit smh.com/urgent care.
Hi.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was
Welcome back to Health Check. I'm Heidi Godman. We are talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu today. My guests are my good friend Nicole Pappas and one of her classmates who is also a certified Amazon Project trainer, Aurelia Weber. We're talking about the health benefits of Jiu-Jitsu. And these two ladies have been doing jiu-jitsu, Nicole just for a couple of months, Aurelia for a couple of years, and they are just over the moon about it. They think it's fantastic. Aurelia, tell us again why you love it so much. You were telling me during the break, you just think it's this huge vehicle for self-transformation. Why?
It really is, because it forces you to be able to make decisions quickly, under pressure, when you're very uncomfortable and scared. The fear factor is huge, and learning to be able to make decisions although you are scared, and then eventually being able to overcome your fear and not be afraid in these high pressure, high intensity, and very uncomfortable situations.
Yes, and I see a big impact in terms of the correlation between kids and testing environments.
Absolutely.
Right? Like if you're going into the SATs, that's stressful.
That is stressful.
I already can see. Dimitri gets his homework done during the day now and is good to go for jiu-jitsu. He's so much more relaxed.
So it's giving him focus.
Yes.
So it's giving you focus. It's giving you confidence. What about balance? Now, when you do Tai Chi, we have the most amount of studies possible for Tai Chi of all the martial arts because it has been shown to be associated with real benefits. And the reason you have so many benefits is you're slowly shifting your weight from one limb to the other, and your body is slowly learning. So that then if you're walking down the sidewalk and you trip over a crack in the sidewalk or something, your body has been slowly doing these shifts and then can do it in faster time. So we know that it's great for balance. It's great for muscle training. It's good for stretching and flexibility. What about jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu isn't slow. It's actually really, it's fast. Things occur pretty quickly. But I don't know the studies, but I do know that it is amazing for your balance because so much of our practice happens on the ground. It happens on the mats. And Professor Vieira says often that the last time that we were comfortable on the ground was when we were crawling.
Mm-hmm, crawling around.
And once we learn to walk, it's bye-bye ground from then on. So we become comfortable on the ground once again. We do so many different locomotive exercises on the ground. We're moving our bodies in all different directions, and that helps the vestibular system to be able to balance out and adapt quickly.
And
Yes.
you were saying too, Aurelia, that you feel like it's really great for strength.
Absolutely. I am stronger than I have ever been in my life.
And are you lifting weights?
No weights.
You don't lift
None
weights.
whatsoever.
So this is all just from that.
This is completely from jiu-jitsu.
Nicole, you were saying that you've noticed this spills over not only into your son's life, different aspects of it, but you've been doing this for a couple of months, just a couple of months, and you're already just so devoted about it. You feel that it's helping you in every area of your life, and you're saying it's a great aerobic workout too.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
Why?
Because there's the warm-up piece, there are the balance exercises, and then you learn different moves. And so you practice the moves, and then you're positioned to, what's that word we call? When you spar. Then you actually spar.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
when you're sparring, it's a certain number of minutes of intense high aerobic activity.
Now I've got to ask you. You said before we went to the commercial break last time that you can spar with a grandma in the
Yes.
class. How old is the grandma?
She's about in her late 60s. She's mid to late 60s, grandma.
That doesn't sound too old to me.
and she, oh, I know, but
Yeah.
she's a grandma,
Right, okay, okay.
Which
So-
is like amazing.
But did you hurt her? Don't hurt a grandma.
Are you kidding?
Or is she taking
she
you?
took me down. She took me down, and she was just being kind and saying, "Sweetie, one move you could do is you could do this." And she was. That's the other thing I wanted to stress is that it's not cutthroat. So we help each other. You know, even the best, our whatever you call it, brown belts and our black belt men, they really are very kind to us. You know, and they'll say, "No, Nicole, here's what you might want to try here," and so you never feel threatened. You always feel safe.
Are
which is
there
nice.
kids in your class too?
No, we're in the adult class.
But the kids program is amazing. He has a large kids program. He brings kids to tournaments all around the state and out of state. And his kids program has placed in the top 3 of state tournaments with just this one school. The other top scoring schools in the state have 10 different schools from which they pull their top students. So he's bringing just this one group of kids from this one academy against schools that are huge and have locations across the state.
And they're doing well.
And he
Really well.
is doing so well. Our kids program is incredible.
Okay.
And our
And-
son Henry has also been training there, and Elise has been training there. They go to tournaments. They bring home gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals,
All
and
kinds
the
of things.
confidence is unbelievable.
And what about your kids? So Dimitri's doing it. What about the girls?
Dimitri, after 6 months, went to the state tournament and he won the gold medal. And that was phenomenal.
Now, is he
In
still
6
playing
months.
baseball?
He did baseball in the fall, but he's decided now he wants to commit himself more full time to jiu-jitsu.
And I really do like the change that I've seen in him, and I haven't been able to tell. Is it just that he's growing up? And we've known Dimitri since
the
second
thing.
grade.
It's
So
hard
is
to
he?
know.
Is it just growing up, or is he really applying these concepts? I mean, he's becoming so mature. And what about your kids,
I
Aurelia?
think it's both.
Do you notice, Aurelia, a change in their attitudes? I mean, they're little kids, 9 and 6.
9 and 6, and I do notice a huge change in their attitudes. Our daughter Elise can sometimes struggle with things being difficult, and if things are too difficult, sometimes she just wants to throw in the towel and say, "No, I don't think this is for me." But because we have insisted that she stick with the jiu-jitsu, and I say over and over to her that, you know, your journey, your jiu-jitsu journey is continuous. Even the worst day at practice, you might get beat by everyone, not understand a thing that professor is saying. Your worst day of practice is still one step forward in your BJJ journey.
Yeah.
It's a step forward, no
and
matter
then,
what.
And then that spills over
And
into
it
her life.
spills over into everything. Like, it helps her to develop grit, you know, to be able to say, okay, maybe I'm not so great at this right now, but professor always says, compare myself today to myself yesterday.
And it's
I'm a
empowering.
stronger person. It's so empowering. It's so exciting to see it. Yes.
And Nicole, you were telling us during the break too. You noticed a difference in your ability to run. You tell us about that.
Yeah, so before I started this, which was only like 3 months ago, I think now, I used to, the most I could run would be like a 15-minute mile. So it's really a fast walk. And I hated it. And I was on a business trip and I thought, oh, let me run to the gym and just go out, get some stress out. I can't do my jiu-jitsu. I'll go running. And I was running a 9-minute mile, 2
Wow.
miles in 18 minutes. I was
So
like,
your endurance has
the
been
endurance
extended.
is extended. And the other thing I noticed back to Dimitri and like the life lessons is the culture here at this studio is very much about watching out for other people. And so I was watching the kids' class one day, and two of the kids who were really good were sparring with each other. And there was a new boy in the class. And the professor called that out and said, "So you're making sure you're challenged and you're having a wonderful class. Are either of you thinking about that new person and taking your time to teach him and develop him?" And they said, "No, sir, we're not." And then they realized that that's something that when you belong to a community, you need to be thinking about doing. That it's not just about you shining and being fabulous, you know? And I love that. And I feel like I've seen that difference in Dimitri with his little sisters.
Right.
He'll take more time to teach them things.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's really great with them.
Yeah.
And they can school him on quite a few things too. I've observed. Are the girls going to try it?
Oh, I'm forcing them to do it now. Yeah,
They are. Okay, good for you.
Yeah, I really, seriously, where was I traveling? And I sometimes listened to the radio and it said 1 in 4 college students, females, is raped on campus. And I thought, 1 in 4? That's ridiculous. Like, my girls at least need to know how to get away. And the professor often says that even just putting up a fight and being assertive and knowing what to do is sometimes enough to scare them off. Other times you might just have to fight till you fight, until you chokehold them, you know?
You've both choke. I mean, imagine you rolling around on the ground fighting anyone. It's very hard for me to picture, and I hope you never have to do it.
Right.
I hope it only stays in class. But what is a typical move? Aurelia, tell us.
Oh, you
Oh
know
my
so
goodness,
many.
a typical move. There are hundreds and thousands
Is
of
there
moves. but-
something that you could tell us? And we have a minute left. Can you tell us something in a couple of seconds to give our listeners an idea?
Yes, there are arm bars, kimuras, chokes. There are, it's a triangle choke, a rear naked choke.
Yeah.
To tell you one move, do you want me to describe a move for you?
Just describe one move.
Okay.
Like
so
if I shoved her up against the wall with my hands around her neck, which of course your audience can't see, but let's say I shove you up against the wall with my hands around your neck. What are you going to do?
Okay, so instead of trying to lean into you with my shoulders, I will push my butt against the wall and lean into it and then duck my head down and around, step around on the side of her that has the 1 foot forward, and she will come off balance and I'll be able to push her against the wall.
Super, super bad.
That is super bad. That is a self-defense move, not necessarily a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu move, though.
Well, it's
So
just a fascinating, it's a fascinating little peek into what's going on in jiu-jitsu. This is Health Check with Heidi Godman on wonderful WSRQ. Girlfriend Nicole is here in the studio along with her girlfriend Aurelia Weber, and they've both been in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Nicole just for a couple of months and Aurelia for a couple of years. And they, because Dean was not able to be on with us, Nicole and Aurelia are going to get to tell us a few more things about it. And when I said, okay, we can keep talking, you should have seen them. They were like, oh, we have so much more that we have to tell you about this. So I said, well, we barely have any time. You only have time to tell us like 2 things each. And in the commercial break, I'm like telling them like a parent, like, okay, I want 2 things from you and 2 from you. So what did you come up with? So one thing that Aurelia came up with, you should see them now. They're pointing at each other. Aurelia came up with empowerment because the jiu-jitsu experience for you has made you feel very empowered.
very empowered. And not just physically. As you said, I'm very tiny. I'm 4'10". I'm like 90 pounds. And physically, I don't, put much of a presence out there. And now I feel like it doesn't matter how big I am. I go against guys that are a lot bigger than me, guys that outweigh me by 40 pounds. And I can choke these guys out. I really can. They're not like just playing along. This can happen. And it's amazing. There is no other martial art in which something like this can occur. So BJJ is just incredible. But more than just the physical empowerment is the emotional empowerment. Because, as women, we are pretty conditioned to be more passive, to just allow things to happen, to just say, okay, that's fine, whatever, and kind of roll over on things.
And sorry.
And
Sorry.
that's a big
Sorry.
one. Yeah.
I say sorry all the time.
I say sorry.
My husband
Yes.
says, don't say sorry. And I said, honey, you have to understand, this is just how women talk. I don't actually mean, hey, I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. I kind of mean it like, oh, excuse me. But
right.
he's saying, you're telling yourself you're sorry all the time.
Yes.
You got to stop doing that. And I agree with him.
I agree
and he said,
also.
if you mean excuse me, then just say excuse me.
Yes, and that was
That's a really important distinction. Yeah. So the emotional empowerment is amazing to me because I will never forget the day I was standing in my room folding laundry, listening to that fight song that came on, and all of a sudden, one of the trainers at Vieira Academy, his voice popped into my head saying, "Don't accept it." And I had this aha moment, this like life moment of, hey, I don't have to accept everything that just comes across my path. I can choose to do something different. And that was it was a pretty empowering moment. And from that moment on, I've kind of carried that mentality throughout every single day.
So I think I've always had that attitude professionally.
That's amazing.
I don't take no for an answer. I have to, because as a reporter, you cannot take no for an answer. You've got to get the story. You've got to get the interview, whatever it is,
You have to
whatever
build up
it
that
takes.
tough skin.
But I don't know if I have that in my personal life.
Right.
So, and Nicole, you've noticed empowerment. But
Yeah, definitely.
What was your thing that you wanted to talk about?
I think it was similar, just in this environment that we're currently living in, and you find all of this, like, what is that, Facebook Me Too campaign, and all of these women coming out of the woodwork of, sexual harassment and things. And I really do think that empowering girls from a young age to say, life is not always going to be beautiful dresses and everybody being polite to you. You might be at a fraternity party and somebody might grope you. So
You might be in your office.
you might be in your
you
office.
might be in the grocery store.
Yeah, honestly, you might be in your office and somebody might grope you. And to have that young girl or young woman have the confidence to not only know it's wrong, say it's wrong, but actually do something about it, like break the person's wrist, I think is long overdue. I really do. And I'm not saying I'm there yet.
Would you have said that 3 months ago before you started jiu-jitsu? Really?
No, I really would have just said, yeah, well, easier said than done. And well, you're going to, it just try to make things go away. I think I would have been a lot more passive as opposed to stand up
Proactive.
for what's right.
Aggressive.
Yeah. And even in class, I find, Aurelia is way far advanced than me, but I'll find when I'm going against somebody, male or female, I'm scared. Like, they look serious and they look mean. I had a pretty good life growing up. I didn't grow up in a rough neighborhood. And so I have to kind of reach really deep and try to remember times I've had to protect my kids, or an office situation where somebody's playing politics and but I had to be tough. And that's mentally what can get me into the state to be able to take on that perpetrator of class. Otherwise, I get scared.
Do you ever just giggle or laugh?
So,
Is
totally.
it funny when a grandma is coming at you to do some jiu-jitsu move or take you down to the mat? Are you laughing your heads off?
Sometimes I do. See, Aurelia's way better because she's pro now.
I'm so
but
serious.
I'm still at that immature. And that's the thing I like about this dojo. Seriously, if Professor were too mean or too rough, I don't think I could take it. But he understands that it's awkward. But guess what? If you have war or you're being attacked, it's awkward. It's definitely awkward. And you can do moves. I'll never forget this one move that you could literally do if you were in bed and asleep and you found somebody, what they call mounting you. Literally, it's a mount position right on top of you. There are moves that you can do, certain grips, triangle moves with your legs, grips with your arms, where you actually can take back the power in that moment. I never would have thought I could have. And I never would have thought that I would have had the confidence to do it.
Do you think that you could get out of something if someone, God forbid, attacked you?
Yeah, I do. Now I do. Now I think I could fight long enough for the kids to go to the neighbor and get 911 and at least bide myself time.
But what about, all right, you go to New York quite a bit for business.
Yep, same
You'd be
thing.
okay
I was
there?
actually thinking that because it was nighttime and I was walking down Park and 40th, which is a good neighborhood, but still it was really dark. And I started role-playing in my mind moves from jiu-jitsu saying, okay, if somebody leaps out in front of me, in front of that garbage, because there's garbage in New York City, what move would I do? If they come up behind me, what would I do? And you're rehearsing it in your mind, almost like a dance. And so it is inside out and outside in. And that's what I love about it. And
You think you could do it?
I do think I can
I'm
do
so
it.
proud of you.
Can you believe that?
Yeah,
I swear to you, I
excited for
couldn't have done
too.
it 3 months ago. There's no way I could have done it.
And what a pleasure to speak to you about it today. And my friend Nicole Pappas and also Nicole's friend, Aurelia Weber, who is a certified Amazon project trainer. Thank you, Aurelia.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Heidi.
And again, everybody, if you're interested in jiu-jitsu and specifically the Amazon project, you could give them a call, and the number is 879-6624, 879-6624. That'll do it for us. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Heidi Godman. My producer is the wonderful Luke Roseborough. You've been listening to Health Check with Heidi Godman on WSRQ, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.